I want to thank everybody for inviting me here. Village Square does some incredible work, and I'm honored to have this opportunity to speak with all of you about my research. We're united in our pursuit for promoting a more civil political dialogue, and I'm convinced that this is a very weighty goal that no group can accomplish by themselves. So with groups like the Village Square and civil politics coming together, we can kind of enhance our resources and increase the likelihood that we're going to succeed in accomplishing our goal. So it's my hope for tonight that I can provide a quick overview of some of the basic social psychological research without getting into very many details of data or anything like that, but just kind of providing the basic themes that have emerged from about 80 or 90 years of research. All right, let's begin by looking at statements from two people with very strong political opinions. First, we have John Wayne. The Duke was a vocal conservative Republican for most of his adult life, and despite his support for Richard Nixon in the 1960 presidential election, he still hoped the best for the newly elected John F. Kennedy. He's on record stating, "I didn't vote for him, but he's my president, and I sure hope he does a good job." Fast forward to 2008, when we have Rush Limbaugh. Rush, being one of the most popular political talk radio show hosts in the country and a very influential voice within the Republican Party, he's a big figure for us to think about. So similar to John Wayne, he supported the more conservative political candidate in 2008, which was John McCain. And in contrast to John Wayne, when asked what he thought his hopes were for the Obama presidency, he said, well, I hope he fails. So what has happened between the 1960s and today, where people of different political parties cease to or struggle to hope for the best for each other? If you attended Bill Bishop's talk last month, you may know part of the answer already. He discussed how our communities have changed over the last 4 decades. And I think that this is an important part of the answer to the solution we're seeking. Tonight, I will try to describe how these changing communities in America have led to psychological changes which make inter-party communication more difficult. One of the most heavily studied areas within social psychology is how groups form and how members of these different groups behave and feel about one another. The main finding from this research is that people very readily form groups, and they attach themselves to these groups very quickly and easily. And I mean, it seems like we're basically kind of tribal beings, and we're drawn towards having groups. So let's consider some examples that would apply to many of us. Perhaps, say, let's consider students at a particular university, perhaps Florida State. For the most part, people, when they choose a group, like being a Florida State Seminole, they want to view their decision as a wise one and one indicative of them being smart and making good decisions. When people identify with a group, they often engage in many shared activities, and perhaps going to football games and cheering for the Seminoles, and in some cases even wearing war paint with fellow Seminoles. Now, this leads to increased group bonding and a sense of connectedness with other people, and this is an important part of our basic human nature. But there is a somewhat nefarious outcome that can sometimes occur, and that's this tendency towards violence and hatred towards people that belong to other groups, say maybe the Florida Gators. This tribalism can be seen in other parts of our lives too. Consider, for example, how virtually every culture around the world has different ideas of religion, and people circle around religion. And we also find that people find meaning in their national identities, their love of the country, and some people even do so much that they're willing to put their lives on the line for their own country. So, are we tribal in our politics too? Let's think back to what Bill Bishop told us in his visit to the Village Square about a month and a half ago. He suggested beginning in the 1970s, there's been a migration where people have moved to communities comprised of people with similar political beliefs. So conservatives moved to more conservative areas and liberals moved to more liberal areas. Related work also shows that this political tribalism is beginning to encompass much more than just political behavior. It encompasses religious preferences too. What we see, then, is that politics is not just personal, but profoundly social. Politics is much more than voting. It's becoming a very broad, important source of our identities. So, so it appears that being a good liberal means much more than just voting for a Democrat. It also will, in many cases, carry with it a preference for, say, Whole Foods or natural food stores. Liberals tend to prefer NPR over many other news sources. And there's a preference for more universalist churches. Now, the same is true for conservatives. Generally, conservatives have a greater preference for Walmarts and other big box stores, Fox News over NPR especially, and evangelical Protestant churches. So this sorting process may also trigger polarization. A long history of psychological research shows that people tend to become more extreme in their attitudes when they are in groups of like-minded people. So if the vast majority of people who we go to school with, work with, and attend church with are of like mind, it's increasingly likely that we're going to become more extreme in the beliefs that we share with these people.
1, 2, 3,